Hey everybody, Freakworks here.
Today I am going to cast some knife scale blanks. This is the fairly new Woodcraft brand knife scale blank mold. Picked this up at my local Woodcraft. I'm going to try and make some knife scales on it. I've already tried a couple, just resin scales. Those turned out pretty good. Figured out generally how much resin is needed in each cavity for that. And this time I'm going to cast it with stabilized pieces of wood to see exactly how this process goes. I'll provide a final review at the end of the video.
The first thing I do is to arrange the wood with the flattest side down in the mold and in a nice pattern so it'll look good when the blank is completed. After that, I'm going to put a rubber band around the mold and over the top of the wood pieces. This is going to hold those flat pieces down to the bottom of the mold and make sure that not a lot of resin gets under those so that they also won't float and that wood pattern will be easily viewable once we pull these out of the mold. For this project, I'm using Alumilite clear. This is a 1-to-1 ratio mix by weight. So you're going to see me use a digital scale here in grams. With my previous project in this mold, to test it, I measured 50 grams of each A and B side and mixed those. It was just a little bit shallow for the molds. So with the wood included here, I'm going to measure the same 50 for each, and this should get me exactly right up to the top of the mold. I'm using two colors of Pearl X powder here. The first is Super Copper and the second is Sapphire. Once I have the A and B mixed of the Alumilite, this is when we go in and put the powders into the two separated cups. So let's talk about this mold a little bit. It was a little too large to fit in my smaller pressure pot. That's why you see the corners cut off of this. Now that's fine because it is a very thick, sturdy silicone mold. But you have to also remember that it is silicone, and if you don't have a full flat surface for this to sit on, you're going to get cupping or bowing at the bottom of your blanks. This was a new discovery for me during this pour and cure, as my caddy for the molds that goes into my pressure pot didn't support the very ends of this mold, and as such you'll see when I pull these out and show them to you back to back that there's a gap where you can see light. I'll show that to you in the later part of the video. I'm happy with the performance of this mold. Just a few other things aside, new discoveries, things like that. The silicone works perfectly for Alumilite or any other resin you're going to use. It'll come right off. I was able to demold these easily. There wasn't a lot of struggle to get these out. The flashing that's on the outside came off easily, and then the next segment you're going to see where I take this over off camera and sand it down on the belt sander so that we have a clean blank. This is the light gap I mentioned before. This is just going to take some additional off-camera sanding to get them down flat. Here I'm charging my buffing wheels. The first one is Tripoli, the middle one is White Diamond, and the last one, that blue compound, is a plastic polishing compound sold by Penn State Industries. They do pin turning equipment and supplies online. This is not normally the stage where I would buff. Off camera, I've taken these to the belt sander and removed a lot of material, and then moved over to my workbench and worked on these with an orbital sander with a little bit less grit on the sandpaper. I went from an 80 on belt sander and then went to a 120 on my orbital sander. After that, that surface was fairly uniform with just a few scratches left in it from the heavier grit. And I took that to the buffing wheel with Tripoli compound, White Diamond compound, and then the plastic polish compound so that I could clean these up and show you what the final product would look like possibly on a completed project on a knife. Using this buffing wheel system with these three compounds can often be a transformative process on a final project. They will remove micro scratches you might have left over even if you go up to 12,000 grit using a micro mesh pad system on plastic. This is very, very good for doing a hybrid style blank like this with your final project, because this will work buffing stabilized wood as well as the resins that you'll use with that stabilized wood for these hybrid items. Buffing like this can put a shine to a dull item, and with an already polished item, it will put a mirror finish on it for a wonderful presentation. I really like the final product here, and I'm glad I picked up this mold. It's helped me to get into a knife scale project, and it's also going to save resin because you're not creating a very big blank. You've got to then cut in half and possibly lose that resin on for the cut. So this has been a very good project for me. Let me know in the comments if you think you'd go buy one of these knife scale molds from Woodcraft, or if you'd also like to see more of these type of videos for knife scale creation in the future. Thank you for watching my video. Please like, share, and subscribe.